Hello everyone, my name is Shade, and welcome back to Langfiles. On this episode, we're covering the English language. Why English? Well, why not? I haven't seen many videos explaining English like this, so I figured I'd give it a shot myself. So, what is English? Like all Germanic languages, English developed from Proto-Germanic, which split into Eastern, Western, and Northern dialects in the 8th century. From Western Proto-Germanic, we got German and Yiddish, Dutch and Afrikaans, and two other sister languages, Frisian, and of course, English. During the 5th century, the Anglo-Saxons were a group of West Germanic peoples that migrated from continental Europe to the British Isles. Spoken on the Isles, these Saxons were speakers of Old English, which came into contact with the inter-Celtic languages that were spoken there. These Celtic languages included Irish, Welsh, and Cornish. Old English was the formal and literary language, which wasn't allowed to change during this time. But Celtic speakers learned the language and left their mark on English before it evolved into Middle English. Another period of contact occurred during the 8th to 10th centuries, with the invasion of the Vikings and contact between Old English and their language, Old Norse. During the regime of the Danelaw from 878 to 954, over half the land was filled with Old Norse speakers. But while Viking raids in England caused strifes between both communities, this ended when the Normans invaded the land in 1066 with their language, Norman French, which is different from the Norman language. Because of this influence, 29% of modern English is based on French vocabulary than the already 26% of Germanic vocabulary. Because of this French vocab entering English, many English speakers will be able to recognize more Romance languages than other Germanic languages. Prior to standardizing the language, writing in English was a repertory of speech, meaning a word could be spelled in various ways due to dialectal variation. But from 350 to 1700, the Great Vowel Shift took place, which is when long vowels shifted into new sounds. For example, E turned to I, and then I. Standardization began due to the printing press coming to England. Unfortunately, this meant that the owners of them could spell any word they wanted, and spelling resembled the pronunciation of Middle English than how it was spoken. These printing press owners tended to shift more towards traditional spellings, rather than how they were actually pronounced. In the 15th and 16th centuries, a standard language was being formed, based on London's dialects. But strangely, a few odd features occurred during this time. The spelling of one word came from one dialect, but its pronunciation derived from another. Some words were being respelled based on their etymology, and some words were being hypercorrected, meaning some letters were being added to other words that didn't need them. It's not too often you can hear a native English speaker say something like, "English spelling is awful," or "English spelling is BS." But during colonization, English spread all around the world. As of current, there are 700 million speakers of English, if we count both native and second language speakers of the language. Besides the UK, North America and Australia have the largest populations of speakers, but it's now taught all over the world because of the US's involvement in World War II and English spreading across the world. Here's a few features of English that many speakers might not really think about. Vocabulary. As stated before, 26% of English is Germanic, while 29% is from Latin and French, respectively, while 6% comes from Greek and another 4% comes from others. Oftentimes, a Germanic word and a French word or Italic word are used in combination to each other. For example, the English word cow, from Old English cou, but beef comes from Old French bœuf. Stress timing. English is a stress timed language. That results in stressed syllables being heard louder and unstressed syllables either being reduced or dropped. For example, the definite article. Another example, important. Notice this symbol right here in the IPA transcription represents a glottal stop, like an sound. So it's not important, but important. Another example of this is the trigraph ing pronounced ing, pronounced id, spelled with in. So thinking becomes thinkin'. The most common vowel in speech you'll hear is the schwa sound, or V2 word order, and do support. For English, questions place the verb first, mainly the verb do. For example, do you eat cookies at 1 a.m.? Have you ever thought why do is placed here first? In English, do is the auxiliary verb, or helping verb, to indicate the question, so the verb is placed first, then the subject. If another word or phrase is placed first, the verb comes second, then the subject, making it V2 word order. For example, when do you go home from work? Notice when comes first, then the verb to, then the subject you, making it V2 word order. Contractions. These are a combination of words joined together via an apostrophe. For example, they are becomes there, were not becomes weren't. Many more contractions exist in casual speech than in formal registers, which finds contractions low-class speech. For example, I would have becomes I'd have, and many more exist with other words. Verbs. Besides irregular verbs, there are two conjugations, a third-person singular and a simple conjugation. For example, the verb to eat. For example, my mom eats a green apple. Here, it's eats because mom is third-person singular, so it's not eat. But it was you, as in, you eat so many sandwiches. Eat is used for both you in the second person plural and singular. That's at least for the indicative tense. The indicative tense here is used for answering questions or used for replies that are concrete or exact. In the subjunctive, however, it's a little more complex. The subjunctive is used for situations like maybe or necessity. Many languages have a subjunctive, like most Indo-European languages, including English. For example, the verb go. In the indicative, it's an irregular verb in the third person singular, goes. For example, he always goes to the salon. But if we put it in the subjunctive, it becomes regularized. For example, it's necessary that he go to the hospital, not he goes to the hospital. Note here that most regular verbs in the indicative are regularized in the subjunctive, including most irregular verbs. Like we saw, goes becomes go, and many other examples. Because English is spoken all around the world, many people have exposure to the language, even if it's a little or a lot. For many native speakers, most of this grammar isn't really taught to them, but they just know it off the cuff. If you're looking to learn English, go online and you'll see plenty of examples of English, because it's spoken all over the world. But with that said, my name is Shade, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.